What is going on, family? Happy Easter to all of you celebrating, and I hope you're having a relaxing weekend. Anyway, big week ahead of us. I thought I'd do another video just to update you on what is likely to happen next week. And to be honest with you, there is an important data coming out next week. University of Michigan will publish its report on consumer sentiment. Now, of course, next month as well, we have the massive FOMC meeting. A dovish signal here could basically boost markets. And based on what we're seeing on the charts, we need to be able to get ready for that. Now, in addition to that, of course, you could see here Treasury yields rose by 4.3% and real yield to 2.1. Basically, that puts pressure on non-yielding assets like gold, yet traders seem to focus on gold's role as a safe haven, and that's the only rhetoric that's available. Now, of course, Bitcoin, for us, there is this consumer PMI from University of Michigan. That's going to be quite important. And of course, a weaker tone could lead and energize markets. Now, in addition to that, there is one big thing brewing with our man, the man himself, causing more havoc. There is a much anticipated nuclear discussions between the US and Iran, and we need to wait for the outcome of that. Hopefully that concludes well and they can boost the markets further, because that is very important energy line and supply routes globally. But let's have a look at the Bitcoin dominance, because most of you hoping for the alt season really need to take a look at this chart, because it's something that we haven't talked about as much as we should. We do talk about it on our live streams, but it's very important to place a level of sentiment as to what can happen. So here's the picture, right? Monumental support of Bitcoin dominance at 58%. Okay, so anything below this level is going to be fireworks. Now you can see here we have previously tumbled down, right? And this is alt season 2021. This is absolutely huge, a massive move down of Bitcoin dominance to these historic lows, which is fantastic to see, right? But the times when we had other runs in the last 12 months have been a decline, a significant decline in Bitcoin dominance. So make no mistake, if Bitcoin dominance moves down, the chances are you will see, like for example here, so that's the last cycle. We've got Bitcoin dominance here in 2022, absolutely bottoming, and then from there onwards really is a massive spike. But we did have spots of or areas of Bitcoin dominance drop. Mostly, if you look at this here in December, as of recent, we had enjoyed this massive Bitcoin dominance drop. And of course, what's going on in this chart is going to determine how fast the altcoins move, okay? If this Bitcoin dominance drops, okay, ultimately, it doesn't actually mean a collapse of the Bitcoin price. You must understand that, okay? It just means the share of the market of Bitcoin is lower. Now, if we're looking for, this is a fantastic, of course, I'm looking at the weekly chart. We are looking at 1, 2, 3, basically 4 red candles from the Trump announcement for the election, all the way down to the kind of like just before the end of the year. So that's what we want. We want to see Bitcoin dominance possibly do something like this. Okay. So best case scenario is that we get rejected from here. And that's really difficult to see that happening right now with all the data I'm seeing. This is a psychological level that Bitcoin dominance is trying to flip. So this 65% level, 64% level is likely to become support. And here's what I'm seeing. Bitcoin dominance goes back to this historic highs at 72%. And then we spend a little time here. We test this. And then ultimately we try to break to the downside from that high. Now, do I want to see this? No. Is it likely to happen the way Bitcoin is going at the moment? The answer is yes. So on that basis, you really got to plan what you need to do in accordance with this chart. Now, in addition to that, guys, this is the balance sheet of the Fed, okay? If I just remove these drawings, okay? If you look at the balance sheet of the Fed here, right, it has just been absolutely on a monumental, right? Look at this. So this is literally at the height. Anything before that, so you got COVID here, right? So you got COVID lows at these levels. Yeah, this is the, this is the COVID times. And then, of course, in 2022, we had quantitative tightening. So in accordance to that, the prices of risk assets haven't really appreciated that much due to the Fed pivot. So, of course, we are going to see, you can see here, there is a level where this is now going sideways. And of course, we need this to go up, and that should give you another clarity with regards to the way that actual chart works. Now, again, Bitcoin versus USDT dominance. This is very important because it's also, we had a wick over there. I'm looking at longer time frame, guys. There is no need to really focus on the daily. We can do if we're making or taking a specific action within the market, but even on the daily, what you're seeing here is USDT dominance going once again, having a strong daily candle. And again, what I'm expecting this to do is maybe top out at 5% before ultimately coming down. So that's the picture now of how these macro charts are looking. Of course, yesterday we talked about other charts as well, and of course, this is Ethereum's liquidation index. ETH has been having this bounce back over here, and of course, there are whales accumulating ETH. So Ethereum dominance, still no way back, and we still are at a historic level. So let's go to the weekly for this. This is the ETH dominance. And again, what you're seeing here is a very clear picture of perhaps early signs of the Ethereum dominance. All right. In terms of these are the macro charts. In terms of our project charts, I mean, from a project standpoint, we talked about Tau yesterday. Nothing else matters in AI, in my opinion. This is the Bitcoin of AI. And you can clearly see what Tau is looking like from the time I posted a buy alert and to where it is now on the weekly. And the picture is even more stark on the daily. And that is a brilliant video that was released by Raoul Pal and Barry Silbert. And that actually increased the overall sentiment of this amazing asset, which is broken down a significant downtrend from its highs. Okay. So let's go to the weekly, and then you can actually clearly see what that downtrend was. And that is a massive reversal for Bitenso Tau. Now, today I've released also another report, which is based on how money flows in the market to the VIP community. Big up to the VIP community, by the way. If you want to join us, it's just $9 a month. And this is actually a very good read. It's a great article to make people understand how altcoin cycles normally run and begin. And I want to share snippets of that with you, actually, because I know many people probably are busy yet. So if you think of Bitcoin dominance as a smaller pie of the bigger picture, okay? So if you look 65% Bitcoin, 35% Bitcoin, and of course, why does altcoin cycle have the biggest gains? Now, it's very important. A lot of you who hold micro caps and small caps, that's what the market conditions us to do. But in this particular piece, I take care of the fact that you also need the large caps and, of course, how to distribute that, because that's also very important. Now, in this argument, I make, obviously, altcoins with tiny market caps compared to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's massive one. This means small wave. People actually generally know this, but they don't actually know in practice how it works. For example, if you get a $10 million investment hitting a $50 million market cap altcoin, the huge, massive surge, and that's what happens in alt season, compared to same $10 million hitting Ethereum or Bitcoin, an asset which is $1 trillion plus $1 trillion market cap, it barely makes a ripple. And that is how you need to actually position yourself. Altcoins with big percentage gains basically live in alt season. Speculative hype fuels the fire. Many altcoins are tied to projects projects promising to change the game, thinking like cutting edge tech. You know, RWA, AI slash DEPIN has been very, very successful. Of course, don't bet on meme coins not coming back. That's also a foolish way to think, because I think, you know, a rising tide lifts all ships. But if you've got like a combination of low valuations and crazy speculation, whales are greedy, right? They will always come back down and participate in this game. Now, why does an altcoin cycle have the least liquidity? So it's a double-edged sword. Now, they've got least liquidity in crypto game, and here's why: lower trading volume, because you do make the highest thin markets. Now, markets, and I'm talking about order books. Have you ever tried to sell something with a low cap and waited for days for the order to be filled on exchanges like Mexi or whatever, or even Binance if liquidity is not there? Genuinely, those projects tend to struggle. Now, compared to altcoins like Sui and Bitcoin and ETH and these larger caps, these smaller ones are traded less, meaning they have fewer buyers and sellers around all the time. This leads to a super thin order books. Now, order books are, if you look at an exchange, you see those flashing red and green bars on the side. Basically, these are a bunch of orders waiting, asking, of course, bidders and takers. And basically, the lower the liquidity, the more unlikely your order is going to be filled very quickly. There are those projects with high liquidity, and this is why I'll talk about the importance of balanced portfolio. But if you're holding a micro cap right now, don't sweat it. Just don't hold tens of, you know, micro caps. It doesn't really make sense. If that's clear to you. Smaller the pool of capital means less liquidity. Let's say, for example, you hold 100,000 tokens of a particular coin. The coin does a 200x, and you have one of the largest holdings, let's say 1 million tokens or whatever. You may end up holding the liquidity to the entire project. All right. So that's also something you need to consider. Liquidity makes altcoins super volatile. And of course, the whales come down from taking profits of Bitcoin, then Ethereum, and then the other altcoins. So the alt cycle, in a nutshell, basically, it kicks off when Bitcoin rallies hard and Bitcoin dominance cools. Investors from the larger caps will be very hungry to come to they basically have bigger returns, and they want to buy those, let's say that example of $10 million into a $50 million market cap, doing a 30x or whatever in a very, very short amount of time. The biggest gains come from those tiny market caps, but they also carry the biggest risks. Liquidity is going to be super important in the next leg up of the market. So make sure whatever you hold, that there is enough liquidity, because there's tens of other people trying to do the same thing as you do, which is to dump the project. High risk, high reward, of course. And then, of course, to build a killer portfolio, let's talk about strategy. So you start with large caps like Sui or Tau or Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana. These heavyweights have massive liquidity and institutional backing and stay in power, so you can take profits very early as the market moves, rather than wait till nail biting. You know, you'll see, if you've ever done a Fibonacci retracement or extension, you'll see that there are those red levels. Means the higher you go, the less liquidity. You only need to hold a few of the large caps, but they do have a balance in portfolio. And I talk about a personal friend here for many years who's actually stacked, has been buying Chainlink regardless of whether the price is $3 or $12. So that's what large caps give you. They give you life and focus in crypto, and then you become a degen. Once you get your large caps foundation, you can sprinkle mid caps like, for example, Beam, Axelar, whatever, Aerodrome, whatever you want to hold. And then, of course, have your micro cap moonshots. And I mean moonshots. So these will move last, but they will move the most violent. These projects, like, these are the ones that we talk about in this channel. They're riskier, but of course you can get 10x, 100x, depending on, you know, what project you're in, and why everybody must hold at least one blue chip asset. Now, all the YouTubers tell you to go and buy 100x tokens, but then you get absolutely shafted. So, you know, what a big project will do is, if it's, let's say, outside of Ethereum and Bitcoin, it may give you 5 to 10x, which means at least your investment over 4 years doesn't go to shits. Okay. And of course, yeah, so that was a very, very important update, guys. And you can actually join our group. Links are in the description. It's just $9 a month. And then we'll talk about many more charts. But again, juicy ones. Look, on the finance, we do have a price point and a buy zone for Ondo Finance to eventually dip into, and it's that green box over here. We have other projects that are absolutely at the bottom of their current run. You've got AGI over here at a very important level. If it doesn't hold this level, then I can see AGI going all the way down to these lower levels, but this has been the most rock solid psychological space where it's at right now. So don't bet on that breaking down. If it does actually come down a bit more and breaks this, then we're going to 1 cent. But I think this will hold supremely well. It is a very, very strong support level going back all the way. You can see here there's a lot of price action in this area for AGI. Okay, so upper end of the resistance is probably where it's at. Maybe we can actually extend that a little bit more and say, look, if it's kind of like if it can come here and then retest this, get back up, and I think that's what he will do. The other alternative is that it does, it finally breaks this and then comes down to these lower levels. To these lower levels. So again, you can see here there might be another, not really that solid, but there is price action over here where this asset will probably find support, because there's a lot of price action there. 1, 2, 3, 4 candles, 5 candles within that zone. So yeah, that's the worst case scenario. Of course, Say's been doing pretty well as of late, has tons of news coming out for Say, including the World Liberty Finance is buying this thing like insane, but it is more or less has bounced off these lows, and Say is one of the ones that is actually looking up from here. And then you have Sui. Now Sui's kind of like historical price action here is just crazy. It is at that 618 price point. So, lower levels. I mean, look how perfectly that fits. I would probably say my point of interest in Sui is this order block here, right? So this box is going to be very, very important buy zone if Sui dips below these current levels. So I think a lot of us will get, again, if you haven't bought Sui, I think below $2, kind of like this level will be an absolute monumental levels to buy Sui. Okay. Other projects as well. Let's have a look at Kaspa. Again, Kaspa this is a very, very important level for Kas. If we come back from the price action here, this is the strongest levels for Kaspa to dip into. I can't really see anything below that, and it's already had a reaction to this level. So if you look at these group of candles here, it's quite important for Kaspa, right? This is very, very important level for Kaspa, and you can actually see this same group of candles, huge support here. So I do not expect this level to be broken for Kas, and in fact it has reacted very, very strong to the upside. So if we do dip, expect the price levels to come here, that 5 cent level. If we don't dip, then I can see Kaspa reclaiming these upper levels, barring that there's a bit of resistance there. Other altcoins, things that people hold. Let's have a look here. It looks like there's no life in this right now. This is Tectum. This is the chart for Tectum. And there's a long way to actually have any form of life return. You know, so it's going to take monumental effort for this to climb back up. But hey, listen, you know, I don't bet against microcaps, and I have never done that. But right now, that looks like a absolutely shit chart. Even worse here is basedai. I mean, it's struggling to break this unbelievable price action here. This is going back to many now kind of multiple months. You know, this is absolute insanity for this project. So there is no kind of right now, there is no way this asset is attractive at all. The only thing that can change that is crazy market dynamics. But it is what it is. First of all, you've got to come back above this, right? You've got to build some, but I can't see any life in this at all. There's no volume. And of course, if you look at the key metrics for basedai, the sell pressure has been absolutely immense. I mean, it just takes, you know, you're taken aback. 85% of the year, 84%, 85% nearly 6 months, 74%, 18% on the month, the weekly, 6% on the day. There is no life here at all. It really needs Biggie Smalls' Life After Death. At the same time, if you look at Cubic, I have spoken about Cubic before. Cubic has shown immense potential to break that downtrend. That's what we're looking for. And then it's really got to sit above this level here, you know, where it's at, and then make additional moves to the upside. I think Cubic can do that, because you can see here the bottom for Cubic was, you know, this early candle, right? So, you know, right now, even though it kind of retraced, it's not like the basedai chart. There was a huge reaction here and a massive support for Cubic in order for Cubic to reclaim higher price levels, right? So look at that. That is absolutely engineered to perfection. Opening candle, right? Whereas if you look at shit AI here, it has broken below all visible psychological levels. Again, this is not the complete chart, but that doesn't fill me with any confidence moving forward. Another one over here. Let's remove all these drawings. Okay. Another one in a similar shape is ALF. So if you look at this, right, this is where sometimes, you know, projects actually become even more difficult to hold, because what you're seeing here on the weekly is absolutely horrendous. Now, in hindsight, this project, you know, the Gigaton was a top signal here. This is when they announced Gigaton, and the spike was up to nearly $3. And then look at that, same shit, different day, monumental downtrend, no escaping that. In order for this to actually have any form of life, and I don't actually, you know, again, these projects can bounce back up, but in order for this project to have any form of life again, we're looking at around 89, 90 cents for it to be absolutely respectable again. We talked about Ondo. I do believe Ondo is a beautiful buy. And again, you know, Corpo Well, same shit. You've got to really, you know, the thing is, right? So Gunzilla was meant to uplift these gaming projects and lead to a huge gaming season. Now, of course, I'm interested again, unless you want to degen at that level above 7 cents. I think it regains at least the bottom of the previous candles. Now, aitech, on the other hand, the lows of aitech are found here. Okay, so it's good to see that it's not really dipped below this level here. It's really just kind of hanging on there. But again, you will see these charts. These are the worst charts in crypto. Time after time, we say layer ones, blue chips, you know, the likes of Sui chart looks absolutely sexy. The likes of you know, even Kaspa because Kaspa is, many people believe that Kaspa has had a bad performance, but when you actually look at the weekly or even the monthly on Kas, you start to realize this is an asset that we've been buying at 50% of a penny. You know what I mean? So yeah, it is doing bad, but it's not doing as bad as what the shit coins are doing, right? So you need to recognize that, you know, you have to recognize that and understand you're not buying a weak asset, you're just buying an asset that pumped really, really hard. Anyway, guys, I hope you find this really, really useful. Like I said before, I'm going to keep coming up with these updates. They are going to be very consistent with me in business. I want to help. I want to turn at least 20 people in my group into extreme millionaires and live the life. And I think, in fact, if we go one step harder, everybody can make money in crypto, but crypto influencing has to be way better. The information has to be very, very critical. And, you know, we're talking about people's funds, you know, money, 9 to 5, you put it into this. So yes, mistakes have been made, mistakes will be made in crypto, and nobody knew Trump was going to slap tariffs. But one thing I would say is stay in this market, make sure you get 2 or 3 blue chips that you can focus on for the rest of your crypto life, and your life becomes easy. Then we can play all these shit charts and pump it, you know, pump it to the max, as they say. All right, guys. Anyway, smash a like, support the channel. We want to grow. We want to try and get to 50,000 this year, and hopefully I can do that with your help. Ciao, guys. Peace.